Sherry last week. I'm like, "Hi, Sherry." Well, welcome everybody. This is our third facilities master plan town hall. We've made quite a bit of progress since we last met. I am here solely to welcome everyone. Please help yourself to refreshments at any time. Getting up while these two architects are presenting to either grab something, you're not interrupting, so please feel free. This is kind of a very informal setting and we want you to be comfortable. That said as well, right outside these doors in the cafeteria, we have both a male and a female restroom, so please, if you need to, obviously you would leave and head out right there. There may be some folks that straggle in here, but we want to be respectful of your time and make sure we can get everything in. So with that, I am going to turn it over to our architects for some introductions, and they are going to facilitate this meeting. Correct? Thanks.
Sir.
All right.
Okay. Thank you everybody for joining us tonight. My name is Allison Andrews. I am Principal Educational Planner with Wold Architects and Engineers. And with me is my colleague. I'll let her introduce herself.
Melissa Mendelacino. I'm on the architectural school.
Perfect. So we are here to do a couple things with you tonight. First, we want to just update you on the progress that we've made. We are in the midst of a facilities master planning process that first kicked off sort of at the end of October. So I just want to bring kind of the group up to speed. I don't know what you've already kind of been in the loop on, what maybe you've heard or not. Do what we can just to mention the work that's been going on. Some of that's going to look like we're going to share kind of some of the mission and vision and guiding principles, things like that our committee has come up with. But also I want to let you know we've conducted a number of different stakeholder group meetings throughout this process thus far. Including community town halls like this one, but we've also engaged with students and staff, faculty members, administrators, and the like. So I want to share just some more information about all of that. And really where that information has then led us is to the development of some need statements and really some investment strategies that will all kind of filter into this ultimate facilities master plan. So that'll really be the part where I'll stand up here and I'm going to kind of talk. I'm going to try and get through that as quick as possible because really why we're here today is to be able to listen and get you all engaged in this process as well. So that activity we're going to jump off with. You'll see there's already some boards around the room. I'm going to put up on the screen a lot of the information that is ultimately on these boards. But then really what we're going to do is as a group be able to go and kind of share your voice and go through these and see and think about the different strategies and begin. We're in the process right now of starting to prioritize, starting to understand, these are investments that have come out of that stakeholder engagement process, but as a community, really looking to say, where should we be putting our focus over the next, 5-10 years? And then we'll just kind of have a discussion around those lines, opportunity for you to ask any questions. If there's additional information that we don't get to, but you've been wondering about, that'll be the time to kind of go through, and otherwise we can just kind of talk and connect as a group and share some information. So with that, I will jump into the master planning process. So really the process in a short little graphic is kind of as you see here. Everything before the beginning of the new year was sort of here and above, which was really just about collecting information. And as a part of that, we had developed sort of a mission and vision with our facilities planning committee. The mission being to develop a comprehensive long-range facilities master plan with one best scenario as a recommendation to the school board. The vision then was that Zion-Benton Township High School District 126 would have a comprehensive long-range facilities master plan to invest in facilities that accommodate enrollment, instructional programs, and supports over the next 10 years that reflects efficient and sustainable fiscal practices. So really what this is meant to do is create a roadmap. It's same way as if you're a homeowner and you're managing repairs and improvements or just upkeep on your home. You kind of have to have a roadmap so you know when do I need to invest money so that I can plan and I can save and I can do so wisely rather than having to wait until something fails and have to turn around and now all of a sudden you're scrambling. So just like that, the district wants to have sort of a roadmap so that they can be making strategic investments over time, make sure we keep this all of our buildings and facilities up to date in a way that are safe and secure for students and staff. As a committee, we did also develop some guiding principles because ultimately there's a lot that can go into this conversation. We wanted to make sure the facility the committee had some bounds that we were really thinking about. What are those guiding principles? What are really important that a facilities master plan should look to achieve and to address? So I will read these. There's 4. I'll do it quickly, but first is to provide a safe and supportive learning environment that promotes a positive climate and culture for all students and staff. Second is to invest in district facilities in a way that empowers creativity, adaptability, and innovation, fosters equity, and supports the pursuit of the highest standards of excellence for all learners. Third was to provide future-forward learning environments that incorporate the key elements of 21st century learning design, including meaningful hands-on learning opportunities and support personalized learning for all students. Just as a little additional context here, education has really changed since probably anyone in this room went to school. And with that, across the state, across the nation, the practices of what your facilities need to look like to be able to support that change in curriculum and in instruction kind of has to go hand in hand. So it's no longer where we sit and it's having furniture like this that we can reconfigure and come together in groups where right now, yeah, you're sitting and you're listening to me lecture up in front of you, but that's not going to be our entire day. And that's how education is throughout the day and for students as well. And wanting our facilities to have that adaptability, support students who have different needs in their learning. And then finally, district buildings and learning environments will be a place of pride and opportunity for all students. That is another piece that I have the opportunity to go into a lot of districts throughout the state, and you always know the ones where you walk and go, gosh, this was built in the 70s. Yeah, I remember this tile, this floor, like it looks just like it. And with anything else, that sense of pride, belonging, all of those things come with a place that feels comfortable, feels like a place that can be home, that students and staff really want to be in. So I think is emphasized in that final guiding principle. All right. So as I said, at the beginning of this process, so basically right before we all went on holiday breaks, we were working with the district to engage with a broad group of stakeholders. So you'll see kind of on the list, this is a summary of all of those different meetings and groups that we went to, and we asked a lot of questions about what challenges are you faced with in, as a stakeholder at that community, as a user. What challenges are you faced with that the facility perhaps is driving? So we're not focused on, the programmatic or the instruction itself, but the facility as a support. So whether it's, the furniture is challenging. I mentioned furniture earlier. It's challenging to move and reconfigure, or it's loud in my classroom. Or something like, the HVAC, the lighting, different things like that, and how it somehow is negatively impacting the use of that space. So we went and we met with the administrators, the principals and assistant principals at both buildings. We opened up and had staff and faculty meetings to allow folks to come in and engage in that discussion. We also sent out electronic surveys to those groups as well, to the staff and faculty at both buildings to open up and ask those same questions, just in case they couldn't come to the meeting or they felt more comfortable being able to submit it electronically. We had community town halls, much like these. And then we also have been meeting and are actually still ongoing in gathering additional input from students. So we've already gone through the effort of having some student focus groups to sit down and have more conversations, and we've now been collecting, I think we're starting to sort of synthesize the data from electronic surveys from those students as well, because we want to hear from them. They're our primary end user, if you will. So met with all of those different groups, brought together all of those thoughts and ideas. And this is by no means an exhaustive list of the feedback. This was just some of the highlights, things that we kind of felt like were coming up on repeat across multiple groups, multiple times or were hit very heavily in each of those meetings. Most of those in-person meetings, we also sort of asked the group, you know, hey, we've talked about a lot. We've been together for an hour or however long that meeting had gone. What would be some of the things that you would prioritize, the things that you would really push to the top of the list if it was up to you and you're making that decision today? Where would you want our committee to be putting their focus? And so a lot of those items are kind of what made it up onto this list. So there was a lot of different comments about, you know, the learning environments. There's a lot of discussions just about the facility as a means of needing to keep it up to date. You know, we want to make sure in our field, you know, our primary role is to make sure your buildings are warm, safe, and dry. Those are critical things. We don't want the roof to leak. We don't want the windows to be leaking. We want to make sure that the water and the electricity is working well. Restroom facilities, that was a big one that came up time and time again. And that's a critical piece. We spend how many hours here a day and wanting to make sure that we've got facilities that can support our needs of not only students but staff and administrators as well. Safety and security, a lot of conversations about building flow, wayfinding. It's a big high school building. Imagine coming in as a freshman and you got to find your way and you got to get from point A to point B in a passing period. It can bring some anxiety if it's not well kind of denoted throughout the hallways and you've got a ways to travel. But also thinking about ways that we could consolidate and find better efficiencies with our administrative functions. Making sure that visitor experience, whether you're a parent coming to visit and you have to stop in and meet with someone to talk about, you know, your student, or a student coming in that arrives late because they have a doctor's appointment in the morning. What do those sequences look like to make sure we're getting people into the building safely, they're able to get through whatever function they need to and then get on their way, so that we're minimizing the time that it takes to do those things. I won't read through all of these obviously, but we already talked a little bit about that environment, that appearance. You know, this is a space that we've worked with the district to incorporate more of those school colors. Something like this isn't an acoustical panel, since it's a very large room, wanting to make sure that having some additional features that help with the control of sound within this space, and so on and so forth. So these were just a lot of those emerging themes, things that kept coming up that we could bucket a lot of that feedback together under. When our committee then came back after the holidays, we had gathered, let's say, 90+% of all of that feedback. As I said, we're still synthesizing some data as we've had a student survey that's been out. And really the charge since the new year has been taking that and starting to understand, okay, how does this transition into needs for our district? How can we talk about this as what do we need to look at? What needs are in our facilities that we would look to invest in? So I'm going to pause on each slide. I won't necessarily read each aloud to you, but just so you know, what I'm about to go through, these are then the boards that you're going to find around the room. So we developed 13, I believe, need statements. And within each needs statement, we as a committee have taken that feedback and identified some potential strategies. So these are ideas at this point. These strategies are meant to be, how could we as a district look to invest in our facilities in a way that would address that need? So just as the example, our first need was about improving district learning environments. That was the need. Some of the strategies that went into that were updating finishes at all classrooms to align with the district standard for learning environments. So if you are familiar with this building, there are some classrooms that have already been renovated. Spaces that were done in the last 5 years, say. And so they might have finishes more like what you see in this room. New furniture, new lighting, just fresh paint, ceilings, all of those things. Technology has all been fully integrated. While there are other classrooms that just haven't gotten that yet. They haven't gone through that cycle. So this strategy is really about going through and making sure that all of those classrooms have that same equitable opportunity. Another strategy that we talked about is something that we heard from a lot of our staff, is that there are spaces within this building that, whether it's due to their specific shape or maybe their size, they don't feel like they function as well as other classrooms. So one of the strategies was about addressing inadequate classroom size, shape, separation from adjacent spaces. This was something actually that came up really big at ZB East. They have a number of operable partitions that separate rooms that just don't, they don't isolate the sound well enough from space A to space B at all of our classrooms. So that was a different strategy. So we developed these different strategies for each of those needs as a way to break up that investment, okay? Is it fair that, or do you, as a group, I don't know how well you can see in the back, do you want me to read through them, or?
They're on the posters.
They're on the posters as well, yes.
We
Yep.
can just.
Okay. So I figured what I was gonna do is I'm just gonna flip through the different need statements. I'll try to do it quickly so we're not spending too much time here. Just in case there's any of those little nuances, I wanna make sure everyone has a clear understanding. And then we'll basically move into our activities, so. Our second need was to improve and maintain site and building infrastructure for facility longevity. This is a lot of those nuts and bolts that we, roof, exterior windows, HVAC systems, all of those things that, a district has to do to make sure that their buildings are kept up to date. A lot of this stuff is taken on somewhat of an annual maintenance basis. And so a lot of the strategies are about maintaining that systematic, so that you're chipping away at it. You don't get to a point where you have to replace all the roof areas in 1 year, because that's a big undertaking. One of the key strategy that's in this need statement was about upgrading restrooms to align with a district standard and meet accessibility requirements. As I mentioned, that was a big topic that came up time and time again in our different stakeholder meetings. Next need statement is to improve building flow and wayfinding to optimize layout and reduce congestion. Incorporate safety and security enhancements to align with district policies. This includes anything from exterior lighting to security cameras to PA systems, a lot of that infrastructure to make sure that our buildings are a safe environment to be in. Reorganize administrative spaces to optimize layout and improve operational efficiencies. This is at the building level. This is more about, think about your experience as you go into the main office and have to engage with the secretaries, whether it's dean's office or principals or the nurse, all of those different things. It's just using that as an opportunity to see if there's efficiencies that can be found in those systems. Ideally, any space that can be given back to learning is a good way to utilize them. Provide interior building environments and exterior facility appearances that promote school pride. Identify opportunities to enhance student and staff well-being and increase space for student support. This is really looking at something similar to what the space that we're in here. This is all a part of a larger multi-tiered student support suite that's meant to provide intervention and support opportunities for students. And so there's some other needs that aren't fully addressed at ZB East or even within this building that want to make sure that that's still at the forefront of our minds. Identify opportunities to accommodate community use of facilities. It's a community building. Provide multifunctional large group spaces to support varied programming and building flexibility. A lot of this is addressing some of the needs of our cafeterias, serving lines, things like that, and how those spaces can be flexible and multi-use spaces as well. Improve physical education environments and support spaces. So this looks at some of our gyms, some of our exterior fields, it looks at our locker rooms, kind of an A to Z in support for not only physical education but also athletics. Identify opportunities to expand programming now and in the future. Obviously, when we went through all of our stakeholder group meetings, there's always, what programs, what opportunities are we maybe not able to provide to students today just because we don't have enough space for it. So some of the opportunities that came out of that, we wanted to make sure that there was something that was an opportunity that we could be exploring how those might be addressed in the future and where those programs that might need some expansion could come from. Provide outdoor space and learning opportunities. This is a lot about just what do we do? We've got a courtyard here. How do we maybe maximize the use of that space? And finally, improve and maintain building site circulation and parking. So with that, I want to take a quick pause. Just threw a lot of information at you, work that's been going on for a long time. Any just sort of immediate thoughts or questions come to mind for anybody that is here? Need to digest it maybe, but anything, yeah?
Yeah, considering you've got 13 different categories, how are you going to prioritize?
That is a great question. So part of what we're doing is obviously we've all of this is about feedback and input. So, we got a lot of feedback and a lot of input that sort of led us to this place. Now what we're looking at is we need to, as a community, as a district, prioritize and come to consensus on that prioritization. Because I think, from your different perspectives, you might have already heard me say something, or you might see something up here and you go, that's not, that's a year one thing. That is something that should have been done yesterday. You might have those ideas. You might see something else on this list that you feel like, yeah, that'd be great, but we've got maybe bigger fish to fry. And I think that's the exercise. That's where we're at right now, is going through a couple different lenses. I think that's one of them, is just understanding from what we hear, where are we going to get the biggest impact for students? What is really going to really change their experience and enhance their experience in a meaningful way that might be a reason to prioritize. Other layers to this is, as a committee, we are going to continue to work because we need to understand the financial stance of any of this. The district has a budget that they have to work within when thinking about improvements and investments. And so ultimately, whatever we map out is going to have to align with those strategies that are in place, those potential funding strategies. We can't just say, yep, these are the top 5 things and we're going to do it. And then Dr. Wall has to figure out, all right, how we're going to pay for it. That's not how it works.
We just take it out of Wold's fees. It's okay.
My fees aren't that high.
Right.
But the other piece is all of what we're talking about is within your existing footprints. With the exception of, look at opportunities for expanding programming, that could be done within your existing footprint. I'm sure some of the things that got thrown into that list might have triggered a need for added space, and that was never really the priority coming out of this facilities master planning process. But what it means is any investments that we make, we're going to have to be thoughtful about how it gets done, because you've got summer months, those are your prime time to be able to have any contractors come in here and make any of those improvements. And so we're going to have to take bite-sized pieces that can be done within that time frame so that we're not impacting learning. We got to be thoughtful about, we don't want to encroach on creating opportunities for learning loss because we're trying to update facilities. So with all of that, a lot of different criteria is then going to map it out over probably a 10+ year plan, given a lot of the strategies that are up on this board. Does that start to answer your question? I know it's a little ambiguous still because we're in the middle of that process, but.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Other questions that I can answer at this point? There won't be the other chance. So I just, like I said, I threw a lot of information at the group. I wanted to make sure there was. Yes,
So there's things on the board that have already been voted on by the board that have already been approved for updating, correct?
Very few. I think one, there is in the infrastructure section, there was conversations about, the district has gotten grant funding for like electric busing. And with that, there is some upgrades that are required at the transportation department.
So that doesn't flow through you? Because there is a notation in one of these boxes on updating for the parking lots, which I know was just passed.
Yes.
Okay.
So is that not part of your?
We had a 3-year master plan, and this is being extended. So what was in the original plan will be folded into the 10-year.
Yes.
So I think it's summer of '26 we're talking about
Yes.
south parking lot and lighting.
Yep.
And one reason it's summer of '26 is when they put the transformers in for the bus station, they're gonna rip up the parking lot. It's
Yep.
gonna be, so we don't wanna repair that lot until it's been damaged.
So that's
We don't
not-
wanna do it twice.
And like you said, that's not priority then, like, we don't really need to.
Well, that's, you know, it's priority, but you have to put it in a reasonable, you don't wanna put it at the top and then end up redoing it.
I gotcha.
So you gotta understand the flow of what else is going on and how it all interlocks.
Bathrooms were
Yes.
mentioned a lot. Like,
Yes,
bathrooms were
yes.
mentioned a lot for improvement. Is that where we should be, like, is that first priority, or what are you asking us to pick?
So what we are going to be doing is if you came in a few late, I've got dots. You are going to be getting a sheet of some dots, if you wanna make sure I've got more, we need more. And what we're gonna do is take as much time as we need. And I'm gonna ask you to go up to the boards, and so they are separated out. Starting over there is at the beginning, that first need statement, kind of in order that I went around here. And what I'm asking for you is to place dots next to the strategies that you as a community member would prioritize. Where you as a community member want to inform and give feedback to our committee, to the district, of where we should be prioritizing. Okay, because everyone has a different lens. Everyone, whether you're a student in the district, whether you're a parent, whether you're just a community member, you all have stake in this game. And we wanna make sure that we're thinking about it from different perspectives. That was why we brought in large stakeholder engagement, to get this input, to get to this point, so that we feel like we've got a lot up here. I feel like we're at that point where no stone unturned. But that doesn't mean all of this is stuff that necessarily needs or should be done in the next 5 years, right? Because some of it might be wish lists. That's always a part of the process, is, we have to be able to prioritize and how we're going to efficiently and wisely spend any taxpayer dollars. So that is going to be our exercise, and I want for the group, for you all to be able to kind of sit and digest with some of this, and that's part of this. And afterwards, then I'd like for us to be able to sit down and have a discussion then, because you'll be able to see where are other people, maybe someone that has a different lens than you, where are they placing their dots? Because this isn't necessarily there's no right or wrong answer here. The more feedback we have, I think the better direction we can then pass on to our committee to say, this is where we're seeing people prioritize. Does that help answer?
Yeah.
Other questions before we hit go?
Are these prioritized?
No, all colors are the same.
Okay.
That's why everyone gets some of the each. And totally up to you. If you want and you say, I wanna only prioritize on this need and I wanna put all my dots on these 3 strategies, I'm not gonna tell you how to use your dots. If you wanna, totally up to you, use them as you see fit. No other rules other than I hope that you will use them all. Okay, so with that, I think.
Any way to get more dots?
You have
think
to
we're in the
look,
city of
take the
Chicago?
Yeah.
For a donation of $10, we will give you more. Yeah, I know, that's a good point. What do you think, 15, 20? $100 for dots, man. $100? I mean, maybe we could give more money.
For sure, yeah, that's the one thing that's really good. There's still some everything else all.
Always is.
I got 4 left and I got 5.
Yeah. I'm just.
I need more dogs.
You couldn't possibly have run out already.
I got 4 left and I
Do a run through. Do a run through first.
Very good.
Good place to start.
I have my knee tight. Keep forgetting to put it on.
You know why I put mine on? Because you said it to me last time.
No, I forgot.
And I opened my drawer today.
I have it right there.
I have it on my drawer and I had it right on my, I'm gonna put it.
And then when I saw you with it right now, I was like, ah! I was just talking about that. And I didn't wear it. I was telling him at the board meeting, like, oh, we didn't have the meeting today. And he wore it today, and I just, when I first walked in, I saw him, I was like, ah, I didn't wear mine.
For sure. I was thinking like, dude, now we're gonna keep working through that. Yeah. No, man. 3. Yeah. First year. Yeah.
Last meal.
All steaks from Gibson's. Come get your steak from Gibson's.
Yeah, we've had that.
You're all.
We've
okay.
We've had Gibson's drop off. I was telling him, like, you want me to I know there's different foods. You can have a it's all dog you buy. You said there's free food, they're showing up. They're coming, man. They're like, wait, oh, we're there. They're just killing us.
Sorry. Here's on the first one.
You want the videos of the water trickling out of the sink?
Oh.
We're just implementing. Don't hold the study.
Definitely. Before we reprint everything. Thank you for posting that.
A lot of restaurants. Because everything was closed.
My first job. My first job was a
Yeah, no,
first job.
but she's so like precise. I bet you
Probably I had to scale.
you know, and she probably had to be like perfect, like the right amount of bread out. It had to be like stacked evenly. Am I right?
No, they're gonna get it.
first job. I started when I was 14. There's a lot of gossip here.
Any stickers from anybody? No.
World over there. Al, how are you?
Yes, gotcha. Thanks.
Hi, Sherry. I'm Jim Wall. I'm the new business official.
The new fitness. Just to you, thank you. Clarify that. Oh my gosh, so you're the what?
I just took over from Apple.
Oh, I'm sure, I'm the Zion Township supervisor.
Oh,
So I'll
very
be
nice to
working
meet
with
you.
a number of times. Yes, 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 yeah, great to meet you. You're on an awesome team.
I think so. I've inherited a great group. So
Really, really, really have, yes.
I don't know who they all are yet, but we'll
Yeah,
figure it out.
yeah, great. Just be nice to them, okay?
I'll do my best. I'll do my
So you
best.
feel very lucky to have Jim.
And Jim,
Last name is Wold. W-O-E-L-L.
so Wold and Wold,
Yeah,
W-O-D-L-L.
no D on the end. Sherry.
It's spelled the same way as Sherry Bridge.
Is that funny? So we get each other's emails.
All the time, yeah.
All right, well, if you start getting emails from me,
Right, yeah, right. And we trust each other's privacy.
I know, it's like,
If you get something that you should, could you just delete it, please? Just let me know. So funny. Oh, yes. We just had the Lake City Joy Summit last Saturday.
I saw some emails.
Wow, what an incredible team at this high school. It was literally everything.
Awesome.
Amazing. It was just amazing. Thank you. All of the work. Well, we had to take the numbers, so that's the prayer. So we really wanted to see if we can.
think the issue that I got worked for.
Safety stuff.
Put it out there. Are you at a desk?
I am.
Everybody's out of sorts.
This was a great idea. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so then they at least get to see like what's the priority. Oh, see how lovely that is? With the whole group. I mean, but no, you guys, you know, to be able to like provide decent space and curriculum. So you guys got to play with it, with the dream, and like, what would you do?
Well, I went to some preliminary meetings.
Very cool.
I think if you put your weight behind that, I think they're in the first section.
Absolutely. Yep, way to go. Let them make sure they know they have a voice.
Sherry, did you use all your maps?
We have a space.
Not on me. Not on me. Hey, all I know is I'm selling them. Hold on.
You're done. You're good.
How's everybody doing?
You seem like you're having like. Tell me what you want. I don't know. It's a good idea. Except for official business. I like that one a lot. I want a dog park for my dog.
Park district. That's a park district thing. They've got the space.
I'm not taking my dog to the dogs in the city.
No.
No, not number of times we've been attacked going out on the run. No, thank you.
Together and let's take a look at where everything lands.
All big scale. It's all about
I know,
scale.
it is. And the big ones are $4.
My daughter's
good right now. I'm getting the family discount.
What the heck?
I know.
Still ready to keep it up for you.
I don't know what to do. I can, yeah.
Somehow, I don't know.
Can I get everyone to kind of come back together as a large group?
Be a little bit more.
Well, thank you.
I wasn't, you too. I like what, I appreciate it.
Hi.
I hope so. I hope. Yeah.
I'm gonna be right here. Always, always, as much as I can. Apparently, they all live.
Are we turning this way?
Unless you want to be a non-conformist and face that wall just for grandness.
Wouldn't be the first time. I was gonna say, that
We have,
Steve might be
we
a
have
little.
plenty of refreshments, little snacks. I know it's,
You would be surprised.
you're interested. Please help yourself.
Got the top three so far. Update special education program classrooms to meet the needs of the curriculum and align with district standards for learning environments. Upgrade restrooms to align with district standard and meet accessibility requirements. Provide air conditioning at physical education and athletic spaces. That's the big numbers, this guy here. Update locker room environments to align with district expectations. Time for first. Increase exterior lighting for safety and security. Like that's our top 5 right now. What was there anything as you were going through and starting kind of to prioritize for yourself? Anything that, you know, what kind of thoughts were you having as you were making some of the choices for yourself? Anyone have anything that they would share with the group of, does that, as a top 5, does that surprise anybody?
No.
Makes sense.
I know it made it as its own strategy, but the concept of having school colors present, wouldn't that just be an understood when you're doing projects out of a high school?
Yeah.
That we're gonna see maroon and white everywhere, but
Yeah.
it's all done.
That's definitely, that's a fantastic point, because that's something that certainly, it can just kind of be woven into anything else we do, right? You know, we came in, we needed to update our study halls, so we came in and we updated the study halls, but as we did it, if we're gonna paint the walls, let's paint it some colors that make some sense. And you're not painting anything more, any less than you would have otherwise, right? Like it's just, that's a fantastic point, it's just something that kind of fits with the bigger picture. Is there anything else like that that maybe you saw that you kind of felt like that was a, that kind of just could fit into anything, you know, let's prioritize a unique thing, yes, sir?
Could you just recap the top 5? There's a lot of chatter going around while you were talking over there. I think a few of us didn't hear
Oh, yeah, absolutely, okay,
some
so,
of what you were saying.
not necessarily in the particular order, the top 5 we had for learning environments, update special education program classrooms to meet needs of curriculum and align with district standard for learning environments, upgrade restrooms, to meet standards and accessibility, provide air conditioning at physical education, and athletic spaces. This was our number 5, increase exterior lighting for safety and security. And then we had a tie, I think, for first, unless I miscounted dots, which was update locker room environments to align with district expectations. So those were those top 5. We had a couple that had 7, so they were kind of coming in then at that 6th.
That's nice.
This is actually tied for 5, thank you, sir. Improve worn and dated athletic training space. So that's actually a tie there, and then we had a couple 7s that came in. Explore opportunities, to offer community and adult learning programs, as well as improve exterior fields to better support physical education and athletics. So let's kind of round out
Thank you.
some of the bottom. After that, you kind of got into, you know, maybe 5 votes or less on anything, but.
I just had an observation. I work at East, and there's no way East is gonna ever, you know, get all the votes, because in this room, how many other people are at East, right? Like, so I'm hoping that we're thinking about, there's still some stuff that definitely needs done over there.
Absolutely. And I know some of these, someone maybe specifically identified one or another. A lot of these, they had that layered in as both.
Will you be having the exact same presentation tomorrow at ZB East?
Yes.
So there'll be probably more responses to the specific ZBE questions here,
Yes,
right?
perhaps, yeah.
Safe to assume?
Yeah, that would be.
But these are higher level issues.
Usually a lot of times when you come out, you're gonna, you know, we see that when we go to the building level. We're gonna, there's support right there, they're building, we wanna make sure that they're championing, that, so.
The only thing I see called out from ZB East is the science classrooms. What specifically, I mean, 'cause ZB East was designed in, I mean, it's an old building, but they completely gutted it and redid it in the first decade of the 21st century. So when we say 21st century science curriculum, like, what didn't they do when they rebuilt it in like 2000, what was it, like 2008 or 9 when New Tech opened up?
Yeah, so
Right, it's not that old.
Specifically to that, they've got, they've had one science lab that has been converted and is now a more flexible environment. They still have 2 very traditional labs, so much like that just got removed here, where it was fixed casework, fixed lab tables, and that was kind of all it could be, and it really couldn't be reconfigured for different lessons. That was really what was driving this, was the feedback of, they now have one that is a more flexible, and ideally they would, the feedback was they'd like to see those others be converted as well. And that would align more with some of the improvements that you've got this building.
If I can just add to the one that talked about adult education.
Yes, please.
If we could just consider and having the students teach. And so. Gotta get it in every chance I can, Chris.
Have the students teach or something? You keep saying it, it'll come.
Any other?
Everything does, if I say
Well,
so.
anything else, was there anything on the list that when you looked at it, you said, yeah, that'd be really great, but, you know, obviously we've got some other priorities here, something that, you know, it wasn't that you would say it shouldn't have been up here at all, it was just more of you understand that it's not our immediate need. Was there anything like that kind of stood out to you? Maybe a better way to ask the question, did all of the different strategies at least make sense, that they were being talked about at some level? I know you had the question kind of about the science lab, so that was kind of what was making me think about it.
I'm still kind of perplexed as to why incorporate infrastructure improvements into areas being renovated is like that. It seems self-evident that when you tear something up, you're gonna redo the wiring, you're gonna redo all the piping going into the area.
That's probably one we could have just checked that box for everybody just to begin with, and
Right.
thought about wasting a dot on it.
Yeah, well,
That's
exactly.
certainly going to be layered in, similar to the branding opportunity.
I have one that I was wondering if we can expand on a little bit here. Strategy 28 says explore opportunities to cultivate community partnerships to then strengthen curriculum opportunities. That means here within these walls. Years ago, we used to have Cal Schneider and Claire Erickson used to be able to take some of these students and place them in real-time job experiences. That went away. That should have never gone away. Because that gives the kids real-time learning experiences, gives them the opportunity to figure out what they wanna do in life, or maybe what they don't wanna do in life. It teaches it to them real quick. And then I think when they come back to the school, they can discuss this with their teachers and that kind of thing. So to explore the opportunities to cultivate the community partnerships, we didn't finish that sentence, we didn't include that part, I don't think. And if we would've, I think we would've gotten a lot more votes on that.
So you're saying it should, just run it by me one more time, so what do you think is the missing component of that?
Within the community businesses too.
Within the work experience.
Work experience, yeah.
Career, exploration.
Internships.
Internships. Yeah.
Jobs for peace, that's what it's called.
Calvin Clare.
The spelling here? Well, yeah, we'll work that out. She'll fix it before the next one gets put. Oh, there it is, okay. Strategy 39. Yeah, I was like, it just drives me nuts.
You can't see that? I can see it.
I should
Just
get
kidding.
I have the fat marker too, I don't know why I'm
Just
using
kidding.
this little like ballpoint pen.
It's proprietary.
I think a lot of this is focused on health, safety, well-being, getting rid of barriers to education, right? I think that's like almost everything, right? Like locker room, health and safety, exterior lighting, health and safety, bathrooms, health and safety, special education, taking away barriers to education, right? Like that's what people are, I think, saying. Physical education, barriers to education, health, safety. Like that, I think that's where we're mostly aligned here, right? I don't know, am I speaking out of turn? I think that's it. I think we have great facilities. We just want to make sure that they're comfortable for our students to learn, so they're not. If you're hot, you can't concentrate, right? If you gotta go to the bathroom, you can't concentrate. These are all, they seem self-evident, but at the same time, that's what we need to focus.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, if I could share some insight over the last couple of years is, to your point, when we've improved things, it's then prompted the feelings of other people to say, oh wow, this is so much better. How come these other places aren't that way, to your point? And I think that that's just the natural course of it. And when we were and interesting to your point too, when we had the focus group kind of conversations with kids, we asked them the question, you know, when you show up every day, what's uncomfortable for you? What you know, just you wish was a little bit better and easy? I was surprised that they didn't come up with more things. So, you know, and on one hand, we want to definitely hear from students, but on the other hand, we want to also help them because they only know what they know. And when they're always sitting in the same kind of classroom spaces that they only know that those classroom spaces are, and they don't realize what could be better for them. And I think that's a part of where we all come in too, is to create these environments that they don't even realize can actually exist, so that the things are a little bit better for them. I mean, and that transcends all of us in the organization, right? When you're only working in this place, you just get comfortable in it. You don't even realize what could be better until you make it better.
I think part of that partners too with, it's not just the building that needs to change, but then the policies that go with the building. So like thinking of that bathroom, like something has to happen with the bathroom. But we're on our fourth kid is the junior here. We have 3 graduates. None of them would go to the bathroom during the day. I hear that from multiple kids in both buildings. They won't go in. There's part of it that the bathroom, the structure is got issues. But there's other things that happen in the bathroom that they will hold, like they'll hold it until they get home, and they literally run in the door for the bathroom. That's a problem. So like, we need to change the structure, but then we need to change what happens in there too.
My problem is, I think you're 100% right. I think we can identify about 25 different problems that exist right away today, but these folks are gonna say, that's got nothing to do with the facilities master plan. They've got architects here that are gonna build the building out the way we want, and it looks like they're gonna spend money on this stuff. So, I wish that we would have more gatherings like this where we could discuss exactly the kind of thing you're talking about. Because we can't do it at a board meeting, we get 3 minutes at a time, and we get no responses, except through an email. None of this, so we need more of this. We need to be heard. Especially from the board, because we address the board, and we hear from the superintendent. Board is elected by us.
The president speaks for the board. He speaks for all of us.
You heard what I said.
And you heard what I said.
That's fine. You have your opinion, I got mine.
No, this is governance. It's not an opinion, it's
You-
governance.
yeah,
The president speaks for the board, and that's the governance of school boards.
So in other words, she's saying that she's not responsible. She's not responsive to anybody that's voted for her, is what she's telling you. She's telling you to talk to the board president, that's it.
No, that's
So
not
if you're
what I'm
okay with
saying.
that, then that's right.
That is not what I'm saying.
I've sent emails, I've got no response.
So what's left though, cause I'm really tired.
What's
Yeah,
left
so-
is I want more engagement
Right.
about other problems, not just the facilities. And I want more, what's the word here? I lost my train of thought.
Correspondence from the other board.
Not just correspondence, more visibility from the board here, from the superintendent. I want more community engagement. I want these committee meetings recorded. A lot of action going on there that we're not privy to.
So, one of the things I noticed is strategy one, update finishes, and it only got a couple of dots. But I guess just kind of the observation is we may not be able to tackle all the finishes the way we would want, maybe even as quickly as we would all want. But paint goes a long way. And, you know, if you think about just the transformation of our gym here at main campus this year, bright white goes a long way to just kind of lifting the general environment. And just thinking of whatever classrooms that have not been touched at this building or at East, have gotten old, gotten dingy. If we just get in and we can get some bright white paint in there, I'm guessing that's just gonna help in general. So I don't know if that can be parsed in, that there's some intermediary things. Like, it'd be wonderful to be able to go in, everything is top notch. I don't know how feasible that is, once we divvy up the dollars. But yes, it's a lot of paint in a building like this or over East. But I think that's one of those things, it's a lot cheaper, that goes a long way while we tackle some of these other things, you know, and make our way through the plan. So just kind of a suggestion of, it may seem really low priority at the moment, but if we just think about the nature of what color does for us, what brighter environment does for our students, just one of those things, just kind of
But
let it.
we touch rooms yearly, right? I mean, speaking of my experience working here in summers, like, you know, forever ago in Stone Age time, painting rooms constantly, right? Like, that's why teachers had taken everything off the walls, is because maintenance at the time we'd come through and they would just paint the entire room, whatever the color was of the time, right? So it could have been a yellow, could have been with the interiors. And I'm assuming we're still going through that as part of the normal maintenance. Am I right? That we're still, yeah, I mean, when rooms, so I think, yes, I think paint makes a big difference, but maybe just identifying that. But I don't think that would be rolled into this normally through natural.
The other part of this, so this strategy, it does account for that. It did account for some of the other things. So if you ever go down kind of this hallway here, 2 summers ago, there was a number of classrooms in that wing that kind of got a full upgrade, similar to what you kind of see in here. It got new floors, it got new ceilings, new writing whiteboards, got the fresh paint, made sure that all the technology got up to date. It was sort of all new furniture. Like, it was a little bit of a bigger overhaul. What's interesting about this, that I'm glad you bring it up, is that this is also a strategy that it's not you have to do it all at once. This is something that, let's say you take on one of these other projects that maybe is a larger investment at the time, and because of the potential budget that is available, maybe you do 5 classrooms a year. Maybe you pick a wing and you do, it's something you can chip away at. It's something that doesn't have to, it does go a long way then too, because as you're both saying, there's great impact, because those classrooms, that's where all your students are, every single day, and they're used every single period, every single day. there are some of these that I think that'll be our committee's work too, is to understand what is something that maybe kind of has to be done all at once, as opposed to what is something that can be broken up into some smaller, more feasible, smaller phases that can then be worked over time. You know, because that's part of that financial responsibility as well. Was there any other items? I was glad you checked it, because you were reading my mind, and I was going to ask the group if there was any of the other ones that maybe you only see 1, 2, 3, a few dots, but there's something that you put a dot on that we just haven't really talked about it, and you want to make sure that, you know, we just, as a group, that we talk a little bit about why that is still a valuable piece to be talking about. You know, I think the ones that rise to the top, those rise to the top, as we said, those don't really come at any surprise. Yes, please.
I didn't even notice it the first time when you were running the slides up there, but then I saw it up there. The PA system for the whole building, when there was that shooting in the parking lot after a basketball game a couple years ago, that was one of the things that, like, I remember talking about, like, there was not a way for somebody to, like, nobody knew what to do. And there was no way to figure out, we didn't know where some of the people went to, and so how do you tell them that we're good, like, you know, all of those kind of things, that when you're all the way down in the athletic wing, you can communicate in an emergency. And with all of these things that are talking about security and safety, that would be, to me, and hopefully we'll never have that happen again, but we live in a crazy world, so I just,
Yeah, and that goes back to one of our, you know, we have 4 guiding principles, and safety and security for everybody is definitely, so I think that's why you see a lot of those components. And some of those more nitty-gritty topics about exterior lighting, about PA system, it's because that is such a critical place to make investments.
Can I speak to one that only got about 5 votes? Is the one,
one?
yeah, the intersections, alcoves, space. Nope, 13.
Oh.
13. Yep.
13.
Yeah, I only got 5 votes, but again, that was one of the big things that was being stressed to it. We had students here last time. That was great, and they were like, "Yeah, I can't get to my class, right? I can't get to my class in an effective time. There's too many crowds during certain periods." And so I do think I don't know what that looks like, 'cause that's actually pretty intensive to build hallways, right? But I think that long term it's something we should look at, because or restructure the day or something. 'Cause again, I don't take away the barriers of entry in the class. If you can't get to class on time, kids running across the school to get to class, I don't want that. Right? They have 5 minutes to get from one end to the other. Okay, what can we do to make sure that happens, so we don't have learning loss at the beginning of the period? Or you don't have kids lining up at the door to get out of class at the end of the period, right? Which definitely I'm sure has happened, because they have to go to gym class or something. So.
And that's something interesting you might have noticed with some of these. I know someone asked a question over there, because the 2 strategies are basically tied together. The first is about do a traffic study. The second one is then implement improvements related. Some of these strategies we're kind of thinking about what is something that would be an easier, you know, less of a burden type of thing to take on, and let's see how it helps. Let's see what improvement. And so updating signage, updating room numbering, things like that feel like, again, something that's kind of a no-brainer, but is an initiative you have to go through if you're going to kind of do that kind of holistic. But those are some strategies that you could take on as a district, you know, fairly easily, you know, not with a huge financial burden or anything like that, to just update some signage and see how does that help the freshman that's new to the building and just doesn't really know where they're going. If it helps to say, okay, hey, you've now entered this hallway. Some of those things before maybe then you're saying like, okay, we really need it. Gives an opportunity to say, we gotta study this a little bit further. We gotta understand what it would really take, because you'd hate to go and just say, yep, we're gonna do it, and did it make a difference?
So would a study be included in any of that part of the statement C for building flow, or we're not talking about studying it?
So I think it's something that when I say study, it warrants some further discussion beyond maybe the timeline of the initial timeline of our facilities master planning process. You know, we're looking to still make a recommendation to the board in March, but that might be something that there needs to be more, just, you know, because if something, maybe the point of, is it something that you gotta look who causes traffic. It's a person that's not, you know, keeping up or going, you know, it's someone who's doing something different than maybe what's intended. So I think that's something where there's not, this one, that's why it's sort of consider those opportunities. It's as we go through, you know, maybe something appears and says, hey, you know what? That could help this. That would align with that strategy.
I'm just thinking if you added all those dots together from those 3 strategies, it's saying that it's an issue, but maybe we're not all in agreement on how you address that issue. But a study of the flow of people, or like, my understanding over here is they closed the access through the North Cafe. Do they still do that
They've
during
changed
lunch?
it. They've changed it. Now they have those stanchions through
Oh,
the
okay.
cafeteria, so you can pass through, but you can't like go into the table sections.
Got it,
But
okay.
the kids coming out still have to get through there to be able to get into that hallway. So that might cause issues coming out of lunch. But my question, to go along with what you're saying, if we renumber the rooms, it might be easier to get through. You've got 135, 140, the front of the building's 150, the second hallway's the 110s. What? Why isn't 100 at the front and you move to the back? The main entrance is the front of the building. Why isn't number 1 at the front? Why are we 150?
Oh, it's probably just the order they were all
It
added.
was the order
Yeah.
that the building was built. But we have all the signs, so other than a cost of paying somebody to take the signs down, renumber the rooms. We have all the signs, all the rooms are labeled.
Got a question. Is there any software that could help cluster students in their rooms to keep the different subjects close together to minimize the number of minutes they need to spend walking? So they're not going back and forth across the whole campus, but they can rotate through their classes?
The configuration of the building is so complex and so hard to manage. The numbering of the classroom is something that we have talked about and something that needs to happen, because unlike many schools where you have different floors and they look the same, here you have so many openings and so many additions have taken place over the years that the management of the rooms is complex. But one of the big problems that we do have is the numbering of the rooms, because you can't find anything, for new people, even people that have been here for years. It's hard to predict, the room numbers.
The only thing that you could do to do something like that would be to have like grade level clustering. But I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea, because you like to have all the science classrooms together, right? You want to have all the social studies classrooms together. Whereas if you clustered by grade, okay, everybody in 9th grade is going to be in this hallway. They can get to and from their class, say, for gym. But the problem is, like, your rooms now become very concrete in their you're really making it hard to make adjustments.
And that doesn't do anything for your gym class, or
Right,
not your
right.
gym classes, your music classes, or the CTE wing is completely on the other side of everything.
Any class that has multiple grades.
Right.
Today, as
Is-
every grade.
Or the room is specific to the content area, like science labs.
Right.
Yeah.
Stephen already mentioned.
It's over 2,000 folks. It's a lot of people, in this building. So that it becomes very complex when you have a comprehensive high school. Over at East, it's a little bit easier to manage that, even the building to manage it. But this one is, I think the staff and the administration and safety, we do a really good job with over 2,000 students here.
If you look at the original plan, or original, when I was a student here, like it was designed very different than it is now.
Yeah.
And like all these extra add-ons they've done, it's a maze now. I get lost.
It is.
There's got to be software that you can pick up, though, that you can use in conjunction with cameras or with RFIDs on IDs, just to track traffic flow. Because we have, not to say you need to do an experiment, but we kind of have an experiment every day, right? You can see where the pain points are at what time of the day, and then you can look at remediation from that. But we don't know what we don't know. We know that people say, yes, it's a problem. We don't know where the problem is. We don't know what's causing the problem, besides what we assume is the case. And I think if you want to get data, and I think this is to your point, like, let's look at this, but keep it on the back burner, because it's something that we're going to need to address. But we don't want to just start doing stuff and then it not
Don't
how
jump-
we're
don't jump in and
spend $1 million and it doesn't do
build a
it.
huge new
Right.
corridor when you don't, yeah. We'll make
Can we
it-
go with trained, like, sheep herding dogs?
Yeah.
That would just like get the students to go to class?
Kids are
I
afraid
mean-
of dogs or chickens.
All border
And I think,
collies.
we had some conversations, cause I know during the pandemic, there was a lot of districts, you know, started going with one-way traffic and different things like that, and you know, that kind of became its own social experiment just to see how it potentially helps, but it becomes if you're in a clock and you need to get one room back, you gotta go around the whole horn to get one room back, so there's, yeah, double-edged sword in some cases, but.
Broke in the grocery store.
And high schools are very unique in that way, I mean, to your point, and that's, you look at kind of the evolution. In elementary school, everybody stays in their little group and they all travel together. And they all kind of, right, they kind of stay home as much as possible until they just have to go to lunch or they just have to go to PE. In middle school, junior highs, they start to get that little bit more freedom where their schedule is a little bit more unique, but they're still maybe within a larger cohort that they're traveling. You get to the high school level and everyone's got their different electives, right, based on, you know, I'm taking more art classes or more music classes, and it starts to really complicate that system. Alright, well, we got a little more than just over 10 minutes left. I wanna make sure everyone has a clear understanding of kind of where we're going with this process, just so you know kind of what to expect next. But certainly if there's any final questions, final thoughts, we can definitely address those as well. So where we're at kind of in February, we're having our town hall here today. We've got our one that's being posted over at ZB East tomorrow night. After that, there will be, it's actually not gonna be at the Board of Education, it'll be at the BDF committee. There will be an update in February, but ultimately we will be coming back to the board in March to present kind of the findings of this process. More information will probably come after that. Once we have sort of a plan, the board has a chance to sort of hear all of that, digest it. Next steps would then sort of develop from there. We obviously aren't putting the cart before the horse at this point. But I believe, and anyone else in the room, correct me if I'm mistaken, there's still plenty of information. How you all found out about being here tonight. Communication through the district is still available, and we don't want you to feel like once we wrap up this meeting here that this is the last time we want to hear from you. That is not at all the case. So if you have follow-up questions that come to you later, we want to encourage you to please feel free to reach out to the district, let us know. Is anything not accurate up on that of how, I think that's all still up and running, right? So all of those are just means to stay connected with the district and our work. So, like I said, we've got about 10 minutes left. If there are some other comments or questions that everyone wants to go through, otherwise, we could certainly wrap this 10 minutes early and everyone can take an extra cookie and make it home for the night. But I just want to make sure that I had an opportunity to thank you all for coming out. I really do appreciate everyone coming tonight, participating in this. It's really great, again, just to hear what others are thinking about when we put these up. You all have a very different lens than, you know, myself, than administrators that we've been kind of sitting here and talking through this, and it's great just to get your voices as a part of this process. And I think it will give us some things to be thinking about as we start to carry this work forward as well. Any final thoughts?
I think this is a great, great opportunity, and because again, at the end of the day, I mean, we're looking for a standard of care that is the best that it can be for our students. And with this, I mean, the idea is to have this plan and then develop a funding strategy. It's the same thing that we have done in the last couple of years, and I must say, thanks to the board members that are here and other board members that have participated in this process, even board members that are not on the board right now, because what we have done is develop a plan and then find a funding strategy in order to make that happen. The options are to do nothing. We don't believe in that. I mean, we believe that we can create these spaces. We believe that we can enhance our facility. We believe that we can do all of that while being fiscally responsible. But the idea of having a standard of care for our students that is the best that it can be, a standard of service, a school that our staff, our students can be proud of, us as community members, That's really what we're looking forward to do with this facilities master plan. And if there's not if we had to stop something because the money's not there, we have that ability to do that. But and that's why this is so important. So again, we thank you for coming out. We know that together we're going to create the best possible, district, best facilities, continue to enhance achievement. But it's important to hear you. It's important to create these spaces. We have a phenomenal construction model. I mean, with our architects, construction manager, owner on the table, meetings bi-weekly, right, Chris? And now, so it is something really, really, really good, that we have going on here in Zion-Benton, and we just got to continue to work on that. So, and this facilities master plan will do that. So, I'm so fortunate to be here with you and to hear you, and I just look forward to the conclusion of this, and for the board to have those discussions, and then for us to engage in the work of finding a funding strategy. So Jim and I are already working on that, finding ways that we can do the most possible with existing dollars, new dollars. We've been able to do that. Even in the the field that you see outside, that was an opportunity, during COVID with new dollars that we were able to go ahead and do that. You mentioned the gym. That was also an opportunity with money from here. So we can do a lot when we put our heads together, and I'm just honestly very proud of the work from the board, architects, administrators, community. Let's continue to make Zion-Benton the best that it can be.
Yeah, baby.
That's really what it's all about.
Thank you everyone for coming, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Cookies, we got cookies.
Save it for tomorrow night.
To go.
Chris has to eat all
You
their
just put them in your hand, you walk